up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Source and Company. I am your host, Source, of course. As always, you can follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Smitty Source on both of those. And of course, subscribe to the Source and Company YouTube channel. All right. So, well, first of all, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Happy belated Father's Day, I should say, as we're a few days off of the Father's Day weekend. If you're in the 804, you know that there was a lot going on as it's been for the last few weeks, specifically the Trey Songz Black Lives Matter weekend that went down between Richmond and Petersburg Friday through Sunday. Today's company was a big part of that as well. He is the program director at 106.5 The Beat. He's also DJ and an on-air personality. You can hear him 2 to 6. If I'm not mistaken, don't call me a liar, 2 to 6, Monday through Friday on 106.5 The Beat. His name, Mike Street. What up, bro?
What's up, man? So am I saying Smitty or am I saying Source? What am I doing?
Bro, listen, I've been called Mike, Smitty, and Source. It doesn't even matter. Just go with whatever makes you happy. How you feeling?
Oh, man, everything's good, man. I appreciate you let me be part of your situation here today, man.
Hey, no doubt, man. I appreciate you taking the time, especially after the busy weekend you had, man. You were out and about quite a bit. First of all, before we get to that, how are you doing overall? Like, this last 3 months, 100 days, whatever you want to call it, has been kind of crazy. So how's it been for you overall?
Well, the funny part is it's almost normal for me. Minus because, I'm used to being out doing more community service. Right. But as far as like day-to-day working, it's the same. In the building, I'm in the studio by myself. Now I'm working from home. I'm in the house, in a room by myself. So that part of it's the same, content-wise, instead of talking about more entertainment stuff, being a little bit more informative. Whether it's, hey, wash your hands, or hey, wear your mask, or hey, we're going to enter phase 3 real soon, according to the governor, those types of things. So, no, it's not bad, man. It's not bad. Just watching y'all do y'all. I get more time to see people like you because I have more time to see what the rest of the world is doing.
Right. Hey, I appreciate that. Yeah, I say the same thing, man. For me personally, it's not, like, obviously, it's been a struggle for people financially and people passing, people being sick, all that, of course. Taking into account just myself, I've been like great personally. I've been able to do things that I haven't been able to do beforehand with this little bit of time. So I've appreciated it as much as a situation like this can be appreciated,
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about your weekend, man. From Friday to Sunday, you were ripping and running, as they say, or somebody used to say. Tell me about the weekend. How was it for you with the between the Juneteenth Vigil Friday, the Feed City Challenge Saturday in Petersburg, and then coming back to Richmond for the Black Lives Matter Father's Day bike ride?
Well, first let me shout out the homie Trey Songz and his manager Moo, his partner Moo. From what I understand, the concept came from what Pusha T did down in Norfolk, like a week or two before. It inspired, Moo and Trey to do something similar in the city. They wanted to do something up here, excuse me, and couldn't figure out what. So, they saw that, they were like, you know what, let's feed the city. They said, well, it's Juneteenth and it's Father's Day weekend, so let's do the whole weekend. So it only made sense on Juneteenth to do the vigil. The Feed the City was going to happen on that Saturday, anyway. That was the first part of the weekend that they came up. And the bike ride, from what I was told, they had some friends that are part of the urban cycling group who normally do bike rides on Sundays. So they decided to partner with them. And everything just fit perfectly, man. We thought we were going to get rained out on Friday because it pretty much rained from like 1 or 2 o'clock all the way up until like 6:30. Mm-hmm. But as soon as it was time for the event to start, to start. The clouds parted. Everything was perfect, man. The crowd was peaceful. The crowd was diverse. Black, white, Asian, other brown people, age range anywhere from kids all the way up to 50. Kevin Liles, music pioneer Kevin Liles, president, CEO of 300 Entertainment, and his trades manager flew down to surprise him to be a part of the event. Trey didn't know he was coming. Yeah, he didn't know he was coming. Then Saturday's event, of course, Pusha T was there. Ricky Davis, former NBA player. What's my man from Suave House?
Tony Draper.
Thank you, Tony Draper.
Yeah.
Suave House. It's actually his and Ricky's initiative, and they're trying to do it around the country. Help other people facilitate it. At least give them the infrastructure. Because if you weren't there, you wouldn't believe how organized giving away food actually has to be. It comes in on a big, like all of the cucumbers come in on one truck, all of the tomatoes come in on another truck, the milk comes in on this truck. And you have to put the packages together, set up the line so the cars can drive through, put it in the car, next, put it in the car, next. That went on all day. And it was just wonderful to see. And then Sunday, it was just a bunch of people with bikes, man. We rode from John Marshall High School. They moved it from Bryant Park to John Marshall just because they expected so many people. That lot was packed. We rode from there, past Union to the Lee Monument, from the Lee Monument through through the park, then back to John Marshall, probably about 10 miles. Wasn't too bad.
Man.
It wasn't bad. Like the only issue was some people who didn't have gears on their bikes, they had a problem with that hill on Boulevard. Yeah, that was a monster.
Boulevard. Okay, I was trying to think of which way y'all went.
Yeah, we came from the park, came up Boulevard, Hill, through whatever neighborhood that is near John Marshall. I forget the name of it, but yeah, it was a good ride. It was a good ride.
Yeah, it looked dope, man. I saw a lot of people, people that I know personally that were out there, men, women, young. It was a few younger girls, not young girls, but teenagers that were in the mix as well. So, I mean, it was beautiful to see, especially since we expected there to be some, not that the event was in Richmond on Saturday, but we expected things to go left possibly on Saturday with what we expected to be the other side, as you can call it, saying they were coming in and protecting monuments and all that. So I'm glad everything turned out the way it did.
Yeah, man. It was dope. It was executed flawlessly. It was attended flawlessly. We put together a little video for it. Like literally, it was all love. All love.
And and you spoke. I laughed. I'm sorry. I did. I laughed. I was like, yeah, look at the bike street up there. And not that you don't speak in public or anything. It just caught me off guard because obviously it's the Trey Songz thing, and just seeing you speak. I mean, it was dope though. It was dope.
I would say it was funny, man. I didn't know what the run of show was supposed to be until the day of. Then I look, I was like, oh, I'm supposed to host this. Okay. And so I was like, okay. And of course, the other people who spoke, there was the 17-year-old kid who's normally out there as part of the Black Lives Matter movement. He speaks, he has his speech prepared. Trey clearly wrote a song for the event. He was ready. Mike Jones, Dr. Michael Jones from Village of Faith and City Council, he had his I Love Black Women speech ready. I'm like, bro, I got a freestyle of y'all reading off paper, man. I said, okay, so I'm looking around. I was like, I got on a voter t-shirt. Y'all need to vote. That's what we're gonna talk about.
That's my angle.
Yeah, that's gonna be what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do that. We need to vote and we need to love each other. That's all I had for, man. But no, man, I you know, you look for, the cool part is when they ask you to speak, you know, at events like that, like old people say, man, you just close your mind and let God out, man. You just speak from your heart, and you know, you usually don't go too wrong with that.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. That's great, man. That's great. Good to see. And I'm proud of the city. I'm shocked, but I'm shocked. I am shocked. I ain't gonna lie.
Why you shocked? Tell me why you're shocked.
Well, it's not even so much the city. I'm surprised. I'm not a pessimist, but I am a realist.
You're prepared.
Reality says none of this stuff will ever happen in my lifetime. None of the things that are going to be done right now would ever happen in my lifetime. So I was resolute with the fact that it was not going to happen. Things like this were not going to happen. So I'm like, okay, I can say this. I can talk about this. I can, you know, tell people whatever I want to tell them. But at the end of the day, it's not going to happen the way we want it to happen, maybe in the future. And I just see the younger people. And I mean, I've been out there too, not so much in the, what you would call the riot.
The participatory part of it.
The versus police part. Yeah. But I've been out there, you know, a few times. And I don't know, man, I just didn't expect it. I just didn't expect it.
Well, what's really dope about it and unfortunate at the same time is even though like us older people, and when I say older, I'm talking about people over 35. People over 35, we've been conditioned to believe that it can't happen. So we like to sometimes fall into the trap of it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to speak out. It doesn't make sense to do this because it won't lead to anything, because we've seen it not lead to things before. The difference with this one is you have a group of people, is what I call the perfect storm. You have a group of people who don't have fear. They don't have the fear of at least not the same type of fear that we have had as a people of authority. Like, you know what, I'm not going out there because I had to go to work tomorrow. I want to get locked up. Mm-hmm. I don't want to get tear gassed. They don't have those fears whatsoever. And it's not just like you've been out there. I don't know, for the people who have been out there, you notice that it's maybe 30% Black.
Yeah.
I think 30% is about right. 70% other. Of the 70% other is a bunch of 20 to 30-year-olds. And they don't have anything but time on their hands right now. They don't have corporate jobs. Mm-hmm. They do have to pay for those college loans. And from what I've asked a couple of them, they have Black friends legitimately. When we came up, we went to school, 90%, like the high school I went to, 99.5% Black. A lot of my white counterparts that are my age, 99% white. These 20 to 30-year-olds, 60-40, Black to white. So they legitimately have Black friends. They understand the Black struggle, or pay attention to the Black struggle more so than the people we had to deal with. Sure. And since the bars aren't open, since the money is kind of tight,
frustrated.
They're frustrated with that. Plus, I view it as them saying, you know what? This is for the white people. We're being treated like Black people. We had a problem with this system. And not only are we being treated like Black people, the Black people are being killed on top of it, and it's making us look bad because some of my Black friends are looking at me like I did something to them.
Yeah.
So it's almost like they're ashamed of what this country is doing to Black people, and they don't want to be treated like Black people, which also lets you realize that they understand that there's a systematic issue with how Blacks and other minorities are being treated.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I get into, back and forth sometimes with people. It's been a while, like it's happened a lot, but I think people have seen it and known it, but I think somebody mentioned it. Maybe they weren't directly affected by it, so it's like it's not really happening because it's not happening to me, or it's not happening to anybody I'm really close to. So it's like, eh. And then with a lot of situations, from Trayvon Martin to Crawford, I mean, it's been multiple situations where, and especially Mike Brown, where you can argue. There's an argument to be made, whether it's 70-30 or 80-20, they can make an argument to say, well, if blah, blah, blah happened, maybe this wouldn't happen. With Floyd, there was no argument. There's nothing you can say that he could have, should have done that would have made a difference in that moment. So add that on top of everything else that was happening at the time, and already the frustrations, and here we are.
Yeah, man, it's the amazing part of it is it all boils down to comfort. Once you find your comfort zone, you don't want to change anything. People who can sympathize but not empathize, they have a level of comfort because they don't feel the pain. Okay. People who have a 9-to-5, earn a decent salary, are able to take care of their families, they don't want a problem that's going to mess up that situation. Now, with that being said, you have a whole generation of people, not just Black people, but just a whole generation of people who are uncomfortable with how they're existing in this country. And because they're uncomfortable and they're trying to get comfortable, they're going to buck back at the system until they can find their comfort zone. And that's what you see happening now.
It's real. That's real. Well, I didn't even think we'd talk about this long. I thought we'd be.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
Look, I mean, it's a topic that I love to talk about because I like to hear people's perspectives on how we got here, what's really happening, and what can happen. But I don't want to forget the reason I brought you on, which is hear you. And obviously, a lot of people know who you are, especially in the city. They hear you and they see you as well. But we're gonna get a little deeper than that, if that's all right with you.
Hey man, that's what I'm here for.
All right. So let's take it all the way back.
See how far back you go.
We're going back to before you can remember, probably. Childhood, early childhood. Do you have any siblings?
I had three half sisters, 3 half brothers. Right now it's down to 4 of them. So 2 of them have passed. But yeah.
Did you grow up as an only child, or you grew up with?
No, I grew up an only child. My mother's only child. I spent most of my life in Highland Park. Lived over there on Dill Avenue for maybe 15, 20 years. Even though I have lived in different parts of the city. I've lived over in South Side for an extended period of time. But it was mostly Highland Park that I grew up in back in the 70s and 80s, man.
Did the radio thing, was that, I think I know the answer just thinking about how we got here. But was the radio thing an idea early on, or did you have other aspirations starting out? Did you have any aspirations starting out?
I'm gonna tell you, it's funny. Like music was always in my house because my mom sang in the choir. My My dad's side of the family was musical. I played instruments in the band. I started DJing probably 10, 11 years old. I love the radio. Like, I could just sit there and listen to the radio all day. Chocolate Chip, Ken Crandall, WANT, WKIE, those days. Of course, my good friends that I used to listen to the radio and became friends with some of the guys I idolized, like El Bravador, DJ MC Fresh. I finally reached out to them once I started doing radio, and it was kind of dope. But I was always like into music, and I just wanted people to hear the songs that I liked. Like, have you heard this? Oh, you gotta listen to this. And that's how it starts. Oh man, I listen to this song. Yeah, I know you like that, but look, have you heard this? And that was the drive, like, oh man, I gotta find some songs people haven't heard so that they can hear them, put people on to new things, different things.
And people don't understand. Obviously, younger people don't understand because they weren't there. They don't understand how music used to travel, and you wouldn't necessarily, even speaking above radio songs, you would not necessarily hear what was dope in New York at the time until it trickled down. It trickled down because obviously there was no internet, and that real hip hop, as they say, was not on the radio, so you had to wait for it to get to your part of the country.
Yeah, everything was regional, like totally regional. Only way you would get it is if it was the companies most of the record companies at the time were located either in LA or New York. Mm-hmm. So if something came out in New York, it would live in New York for a while, and they say, okay, we'll put a little bit of money behind it and start shipping it out slowly. So from New York, of course, that covered, Jersey and Philly. If it did well in Jersey and Philly, then you send it to DC and Virginia. If it did well there, then you send it down to the Carolinas, down south. So yeah, it would take months sometimes for records to make their way from LA or New York to Richmond. But when they did, the problem was the outlet wasn't always there, because you have to remember back then, the urban station didn't always want to play hip hop. It wasn't prevalent at the time. It wasn't as well accepted as R&B at the time. People didn't know what to think of it. It was actually considered kind of aggressive, and they were like, no, we can't play a lot of that rap stuff because the people who advertise on the station might pull their money, and we need that money, to keep things moving. So it took a while for it to become, I guess what you call status quo on the radio.
Yeah, once it got to the level where it was more than hearing Prince, not even talking hip hop, just black music in general, more than hearing a Prince song or a Michael Jackson song within an hour of MTV.
Yeah.
Got past that point, then we kind of moved a little bit after that.
Yeah, MTV, I think, was the MTV and early BET were instrumental in making hip hop more acceptable in a lot of parts of the world, including in Richmond. Richmond had mixed, they had mixed shows and specialty shows, but rap wasn't an all-day thing on the radio.
At all. It was like 3 o'clock, matter of fact. I remember at one point, and that was like a good ways in. It was like no hip hop before 3 o'clock.
Yep.
It's crazy. But here we are, thankfully. So somehow, some way, you ended up, wait, first, you play football?
Yeah, I played from 4 years old all the way up until like college. The first year of college, I went out for the team. Actually, the college I went to didn't even know I played football, which was really funny. They were clueless. We had people on the team that we used to beat up on in high school, and it was like, yeah, he plays he plays football. It was like, yeah, I do. But I actually went to school on an academic scholarship, so I didn't get to live my NFL dream. But yeah, I played football forever. Then the flag stuff. Couldn't get it out of my.
Of course. Good times as well. What school did you go to?
I'll go in a row. I went to Mary Mumford for elementary school. I went to Albert Hill for middle school. I went to TJ for high school, and then they split the complexes up, and I got sent to Kennedy, and I graduated from Kennedy. Then I went to University of Richmond.
And that's where the radio dream came into fruition, for real.
Yeah, Black History Month, 1989. Little small Jewish white guy who was the programmer of the station said, hey, man, he came to the Minority Student Union and said, hey, I had an idea for Black History Month. If any of the guys in your organization want to, come over to the radio station and, do a show or two during the month. And, most of the people were like, I was like, what day? I was right there. And it stuck after that. That was it. I have not missed the radio. I have not missed being on radio for more than a week since 1989.
Wow, really?
Mm-hmm. Never missed a full week.
That is crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Those radio days back at U of R spawned some of the Richmond legends. If we can say legends. You can say legends.
It was the legends before us that were up there at that station too, because like I said before, all of the guys that I used to listen to at KIE or A&T, they ended up coming up there because on those stations, I think, went off air or whatever. So I was like, yo, how dope would it be to have, El Bravador, MC Fresh, DJ MC Fresh, come up and do, an hour each week. Got in contact with them and boom, there they were. Mm. And then, of course, we were all just doing it for the love. But then, you had Skills who went to school with me at Kennedy. He started coming up. John Kilby, who went to Kennedy with me. Danger Mouth, he went to Kennedy. And then, you bump into people when you're traveling, doing your ciphers and stuff. And it's like, oh, you're kind of dope. What are you doing Saturday or Sunday? Cool, come up to the station. We're up there for 4 hours. Meet us up there. So, that's when we bumped. Of course, Drake was up there. Drake knew Lonnie. Lonnie ended up coming up there. That was when Lonnie was just a rapper. He wasn't DJing as much.
Right.
And you had so many other people, man. The Disorganized Union, their whole squad used to slide through from time to time. It was just like the spot where you would go to live hip hop. You got to pardon my tap dancing dog, by the way.
Hey, you can't control everything, bro. You can't control everything. So yeah, I remember those days as well, just hearing them and then hearing about them as we've gotten older and I've gotten to know, different members of the whole crew that used to come up there. So it's dope to hear people talk about the past and to see where they've gone from there, whether it's through music or whatever other venues they've been in. Mm-hmm. Now, when did we get to, I'm saying when, I probably remember when we got to Power. You went to Power first. Was it straight from U of R?
Yeah, it was. I was doing them simultaneously. Actually, what happened was some of my fellow U of R, what do you call them, students in the Minority Student Union, their little cousin worked up at CDX, and it was Stress. His cousins went to U of R with me, so he used to always come up to hang out at U of R. And he asked, he was like, man, you should see, you should come over here and do the, get on the station over here. I'm gonna talk to Aaron Maxwell. So Stress talked to Aaron. Eventually, Aaron accepted a meeting, and he was like, okay, do you want to do the 5 o'clock mix? I was like, okay. So it was the 5 o'clock mix for maybe a couple months. And then we talked them into doing the Friday night and Saturday night show. We called it Friday night, Saturday night flavor. And from there it was, you know, it was not a full-time job until 1998. It was just part-time. I just stayed up there and I just soaked in information from all of the radio legends. Ben Miles, Eric Lee was still there. Juan and Katie were there. Jay Carneal was there. Mickey Spencer was there. Phil Daniel, like a bunch of legends in the same building. So, you know, you just sit there and listen to what they have to say and use it to form your foundation.
Let me just, I've never said this, not that it's, I mean, it's not a big deal, but I remember, okay, now I'm pretty laid back. I'm a pretty decent person, you know. I'm not, I don't hate, like, I'm an okay guy, right? One time in the 90s, dog, you was mixing and you messed up. It was early on power, and you messed up. And it was like, it was kind of a big mess up. It was like a good 5 to 7 seconds. It was just like crazy. So to me, it was a big deal.
Okay.
I remember that moment. I was like, yo, man, he whack, yo, he don't deserve to be, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not even a hater. So if I was acting like that off of one moment, I can't imagine how people, even when you're doing the greatest job of all, people might hate. You get a lot of hate. You got to get a lot of hate. I feel like you got to get a lot of hate.
I tell you what, you usually get what you call a lot of hate from people who don't know you. Hate is something that's based on, it's based on something that you just can't put your hands on. You know what I mean? That's what it's a feeling. It's like, how come you don't like them? I just don't like them. That's a hater answer. Now, if somebody knows me and dislikes me, I'm good with that.
Right.
Because it's based on something solid. Hating, I used to be more attentive and more effective by people who had a problem with me that I never met. But it is wasteful. It's like, you know, the older you get, the more you're like, oh, okay. My mother loves me. You know what I'm saying? My mother loves me. She made me dinner tonight. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, cool. Like I'm one of those people. I'm self-motivated. I used to use hate and all of that to motivate me, but I stopped that because, you know, if you do something out of hate, the end result isn't something that you planned anyway. You know what I mean? It's like you're doing it to spite somebody else. You're not doing it to make yourself feel better. You're not doing it to make yourself better. You're not doing it to be great. Right. Like people who don't know me, one thing they probably don't realize is I'm the most competitive person on the planet. Like somebody said, nah, I'm more competitive, you know, but nah, it's like, okay, cool. Well, we're both the most competitive people on the planet then. We can be tied, but I'm still gonna say I'm most competitive because I'm the most competitive. Right. But I try to do better each year. Like just say for instance, coming up every year on my birthday, I see how long it takes me to run a mile. I want to be better than the year before. You know, you reach that plateau though, but when it came to lifting weights, okay, last year I could bench press, not now, I'm too old for it, but you know, one year it was like I could bench press, 350. This year it's 415. And you know, at the age now my right shoulder doesn't work like it's supposed to. So, I mean, I wanted to be the best in radio. It got to the point where I got competitive with radio. I was just cool with mixing, but then it was like I learned radio. I didn't care about radio. I just cared about mixing, about playing records I like for other people. But then they were like, we get ratings. What are ratings? So how many people are listening? So I was, wait a minute. I want more people listening to me than listen to anybody else. So then I had to learn the science behind radio and incorporate that into song selection, when to play records and all of that. I wanted to be the best in radio.
Hey, and then, well, you say you want to be the best at radio, and you can argue that fact at this point because you are the program director at 106.5 The Beat. You know, I'm not saying that that makes you the best, but I am saying that argument can be made at this moment that you are the best in Richmond. And in Richmond, at least.
Okay. Well, you know what? The old me from 3 or 4 years ago would tell you, say, that well, I've already done the Richmond thing. This is the not bragging, but being honest part of our conversation. The best in the game, and when I say the best, are the people who get paid the most money. They're recognized by our peers in the radio community as that's the pinnacle. You know, that's the best program director. Enough people agree that that's the case. There are a couple of those people that whenever jobs open up for the past 6 or 7 years, they'll call me, hey, do you want to move here and do this job? Once you get those calls, then it's like, okay, the best in the game are saying they want me to come and run that station. I'm good. I'm gonna stay here in Richmond because I don't have to move to prove that I'm the best anymore.
I love it. I love it. That's dope.
It's like, okay, cool, I'll move. I'm not gonna see my family like I want to. I'd rather stay here and once a year or however often somebody calls from a market and say, hey man, you interested in moving to you know what? I'll give you the list of markets. Miami, Atlanta, DC, Philly, Chicago, Detroit, Houston, New York.
No slouches in the list. There was no slouches. No.
I've never been offered a job in LA though. Never been offered a job in LA.
I mean, you know, that gives you something to reach for.
No, but radio's been good, man. Hip hop's been good to me and my family, man. I don't have any, and I like to pass the blessings on to other people. That's it.
One thing I forgot to ask you early on, was there a song that made you fall in love with hip hop?
Ooh. Yes.
Oh, good. I was gonna say, I can tell you mine.
It took me, there's two songs in particular. The first one was The Breaks, because we had a competition growing up to see who could memorize it. Most people don't realize that songs were like 7 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
I memorized this. I was one of the first people to memorize the song around the way. The second song was the first song I ever played on the radio. It was Raw by Big Daddy Kane.
Mm.
That was the first record that I ever put the needle on a radio station. When I met Kane recently, in the past few years, for the first time face to face, I had to tell him, I was like, your record was the first record I ever played on the radio.
Was that intentional? Was the playing that particular song intentional, or did it just happen to?
It was just not. It was intentional. It was my favorite record. It was my favorite record. Raw was my favorite record at the time.
Mm.
People know Kane's dope, and it was two different versions, which was funny because I had one version and I knew the words to that one version, and when I was around my friends and they would start, we would be doing the lyrics. And I would mess up, and they were like, you don't know the record. It's like, no, my record has a different version. They were doing the album version. I was doing the 12-inch version.
Okay. Well, since I mentioned it, I will say that the song that made me fall in love with hip hop was My Philosophy. And I don't even know if it was the song originally. I don't remember if I heard the song or if I saw the video and heard the song at the same time. Because the video, okay, everybody's chilling and it's a cappella for a moment, and then that joint drops, and it's just like that joint changed my life.
In the club.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's a good one.
Beautiful thing, beautiful thing. So you were mentioning family, as we just passed Father's Day a few days ago, and you are the father of one?
Yep.
Father of one.
Sydney Street, man.
Huh?
Yeah, Sydney. Her name's Sydney.
Sydney. How old is she?
She's 13.
Okay. How has the last few weeks, or even has the last few weeks, changed your parenting at all? Have you had to have different discussions, or is it see, I told you so, or how approach it?
Well, she's what's really dope is the school that she goes to is really it's not very diverse. You know what I mean? She goes to a private school, and those kids, her included, they're very opinionated. A lot of them speak like their parents, and I don't put any of my, what I believe on my daughter, because she's bright enough. Like I did at the beginning, but she's bright enough now to form her own opinions, feel the way she feels, and be able to articulate why she feels that way. And if she could do that with me, she could do that with kids, with children. And I haven't had to have a talk per se with her. We have brief discussions, I say, hey, you see they messed up part of downtown. She give me her opinion on it. If she doesn't understand it, or she makes a statement that's not based on fact, I might correct her on some things. Why they do that? That's dumb, blah, blah, blah. Well, sometimes you gotta think that they don't feel it's dumb. You just interject from time to time. You don't try to tell them what to think. You just make sure that they see both sides of the coin, or, all six sides of the dice before they come up with their final opinion about something.
That's real. My kids are a little older than that, my two daughters. And we've always had the kinds of conversations that we have, that we have to have with our Black children. Right? Not so much as they should be fearful in any way, but to just be cautious and aware. And like when things happen, something might happen at school, and I tell them, just look at it like this, blah blah blah, and just making sure that they, again, like you said, see both sides and know that there may be there's a clear difference, but you don't have to live in that difference necessarily. Especially like you said, your daughter goes to a school that's not diverse. My kids went to school all the way through that is less Black people. Like, might be one Black person in the room. You might be the only one. You might be the only one. So sometimes, sometimes they don't see it, but at this point now, it's real in the household. It's real.
Yeah, they get it.
Oh yeah, all the way. Oh man, so just I spoke to 7. I did a like Black Dads edition of the Sourcing Company. I just talked to a few Black dads for a couple of minutes. I appreciate it. So what's the best part of being a dad for you? What's been the best part of being a dad for you?
Man, you know what? It's dope to always know that you have somebody that has your back, and there's no pretense in the interaction with them. Especially, when they're younger, they don't have filters. you get more unadulterated, honest answers from kids the younger they are before, you know, society gets their hands on them and force
Mm-hmm.
to be politically correct, or, you know, forces them to have a slightly different personality outside of their comfort zone. But knowing that you have somebody that you know you can share your thoughts with, that that can be that battery, because like for me, my bucket list, um like I don't think I mentioned it, but like I didn't have a plan coming out of college. I went to college because it was what I was supposed to do. It was like, you know, it was like the 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th grade. You know, it was, I didn't have to pay for it. So I went. I finished and I was like, I didn't take advantage of the career um, center that they had, you know, to get jobs. I didn't take advantage of none of that, man. So I didn't have like an idea what I wanted to do. I just kept doing stuff that I liked, and it led to radio. And the cool part about radio being so, you know, competitive is that every now and then you need that competitive advantage, and your family can help provide that competitive advantage. You know, it's like I get a bonus if I, you know, if my station does well. Okay, well, she might need college money, so let's go ahead and do this. Or, you know, if I have to, you know, go out and do some extra appearances, or, you know, I have to, you know, just make sure that I give her a good enough lead in this 400-meter dash. You know, I hand off the baton so she don't have to run as hard, you know, those last meters. I want her to be able to cruise in and soak up the applause. So that's family provides that motivation for you to be great. At least it does for me.
That's great. That's a great way to approach it too, man. I I was going to end it with a top five because sometimes I like to go to the top five because that's an easy out.
Do it.
Have a good top five, like you know, what came to my mind was like top five moments, radio moments. That's kind of a you might need a script and like 10 minutes to figure that out. So
I would need a while for that one.
yeah,
I could give you the top two off my head, and you still have another top five. But the top two off of my head was interviewing um, Michelle Obama. That would be number two.
Number two, I can't wait to hit number one.
Number one was interviewing Barack Obama
Oh,
on Valentine's Day, and being able to ask him, "Yeah, you know what? It's cool you're running for president, but what is it that you know, what is it that you and your wife are going to do tonight?"
that is dope. Okay, all right, all right. Now you know. I mean, I can't even argue. I was going to say Michelle Obama is my dream interview if I have a bucket list.
I'll share it with you. I'll tell you the dopest part of the interview. The dopest part of the interview with Michelle Obama was listening to her talk to her staff naturally and then go into her Michelle Obama mode during the interview. Since, you know, they call first and you hear her talking, you know, she'll be right with you. No, I said, go do so-and-so and get so-and-so for me. Want to do that, blah, 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 blah. Michelle Obama, you have Mike Street. Hi, Mike. And it was a switch just like that. I was like, and, you know, at the end of it, I was like, yo, by the way, your assistant didn't mean to do that. And she started laughing because she didn't realize I heard the beginning of the conversation. So that like I said, number two moment in my radio career right there. Number two interview.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I respect both of them joints because
You come up with a good top five, I bet, for Lonnie B or for Noah or
well, you know, you know what though?
okay.
I mean, obviously you're a sports guy. You're a
Yes.
sports guy. Top five athletes, I guess top five favorite athletes. How about that?
Overall, or because of what?
How is it easier to get to an answer?
Okay, no, I'll just go. I'll just go through top 5 athletes. I'll go in chronological order. I was always a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, so my first favorite athlete, like for real, was Franco Harris.
Mm.
I would not put him in my top 5, but that was my first. Then probably Muhammad Ali. I was a Dr. J fan.
Me too.
Let's see. I want to mix some other sports in. I liked Willie Stargell because I was a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and if I'm not mistaken, it was 1979 that the Steelers and the Pittsburgh Pirates both won. So I liked because he was a fat dude. You know, I was he was a fat dude and he was nice at baseball. So it's like okay. And then, I mean, I'll give the contemporary answers because it's always hard to argue it. I like Michael Jordan. I like LeBron James. I know, well, they're the best at what they do. So when I say I like them, I mean, I'm being, I'm definitely limiting that. I think that they're the best at what they do. It's not too many people. It's not too many athletes that can say that they were unequivocally the best for a minimum of 5 years. There's not too many of those people. Like you think of any sport, who was the best for 5 solid years? You have great athletes all over the place. Think of this. You had Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant, to a lot of people, one of the greatest athletes ever. Some people say he was the second best basketball player ever. How many MVPs did he win? 1. That didn't, that's not to lessen his legacy. That's not to lessen his play. But he just happened to play on a team with Shaq for some of those years.
Mm-hmm.
That was the greatest athlete for maybe a 3-year window, 4-year window. I can't give him 5. LeBron, you can give him 5. You might actually be able to give him 6 or 7. Michael Jordan, you could give him 7 or 8. Easily. Dr. J, even though part of it was in the ABA, you could give him 5. So that's like my basketball bar. 5 years. If you weren't the best for 5 years, you can't be considered a great.
I can respect that. I actually, I had in my sports group, Sports Ball Podcast, I had someone ask a question: if Michael Jordan didn't exist, who would have been the face of the NBA during that late 80s to late 90s time? And I thought about it, and I never actually came up with an answer, because a lot of times people kind of go to the big man in their mind, but it is rare that the big man is the face of the league. It's rare, because I'll tell you my reasoning, because I feel like we, regular Joe, can't be Shaq.
Right.
We can't be Wilt, because we're not the biggest guy, and we're not going to outmuscle everybody. We can be Jordan. Of course, we can't be Jordan, but we can be Jordan because he's a smaller guy. He's not the biggest guy on the court. He's not the strongest guy on the court. He has to dribble. He has to pass. He has to shoot. He has to play defense. We can all do that. So we all think that that is actually a goal that's reachable, as opposed to pointing at the big man. So that's why I feel like the face of the league has always been a swing man or somebody smaller, as opposed to a big man like Shaq or Wilt. Although Wilt was dominant and he was bigger than everybody, clearly, and he still had to run into Bill Russell. So yeah.
And dominant and best player, 2 separate things.
Fact.
Like big guys, the big man is rarely considered the best player, because most big men cannot create their own shots. Like if the game's on the line, there's 5 seconds, you're not going to pass the ball from out of bounds straight to the big man normally, unless he's in the block.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to bring the ball up. That I've never seen that. 5 seconds on the clock, you pass it to your big man, go up the court and get a jumper. Not happening. Not happening. And you're not going to get to the rim quick enough. But no, I you know what? To answer your question, I'll give you a name. No, I was going to say Ron Harper. But Ron Harper, you know, he's not at that time, he didn't feel comfortable talking, you know.
Stuff, yeah.
Because of his speech impediment.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as his game, Jordan wanted him on the Bulls for a reason. Ron Harper was one of the few players when he played for Cleveland that would match Jordan point for point, was just as good a defender, and Jordan didn't want that guy checking him the whole game. Most people don't even know who I'm talking about when I say Ron Harper. They just know the Ron Harper that came off the bench for the Bulls.
They know the older Ron Harper.
Right. But Ron Harper was, I tell you what, Ron Harper was to Jordan what a healthy Paul George was to LeBron.
I think that's fair. I love Ron Harper myself. So I think that's a fair comparison.
Yeah.
Got a little bit of knowledge there, young street. Might know a little something.
I just watch TV all the time, man. Cut it out.
Yeah, watch TV all the way to program director of 106.5 The Beat, and quite possibly the best PD in the country.
Hey, man. I strive, man. That's all I do, man. I work at it every day.
I appreciate you, bro. I don't know. You want to throw out any social media for the people that might want to. Don't say 106.5 The Beat, bro. I mean,
bro. I only Now, how about this? Instead of doing social, because you're gonna put the social media on there anyway.
I truly am.
I just want to say that it's dope how like I didn't even know this was your thing, and I started noticing it on social media, and I always love like watching people have dialogue and discussions, whether it's against each other or it's, you know, what do you think of this topic? But I think it's dope what you're doing, and apparently, you know, it's something that you love. And I love seeing people do things that they love and grow it. And I see that your platform is growing. So I just want to tell you, whatever, just keep doing it. Make your tweaks where you feel necessary, make your changes where you feel necessary, but always make sure that you feel good about your end product, man.
Respect, bro. I really appreciate it. Coming from a vet like you, thank you, sir. And once again, I would say thank you for being on the show. Source and Company, we out here.